Alrighty, so we have some parabolas here or some quadratics in standard form, and we need to go ahead and sketch these. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to put them into vertex form and factored form. In standard form, I can take a look at my C value, right? And that tells me what my y-axis intercept is. So I know I'll have the point 0, -60, okay, because my C value is -60. So let's go ahead and put this into factored form. So in order to do that, we can do this with our box method. So x squared and -60 will go there in the bottom right. I need to find, because my leading coefficient is just a 1, I need to find then factors of -60. So that would be 1 times 60, that would be 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, and 6 times 10. Okay, so I'm looking for the pair that's going to give me a 7, or better yet, a -7. So I'm going to take this 5 and 12 right here. So I'll put 5x there, 12x there. All right, now because I want -7, one of those needs to be negative. So my 12 I'm going to make negative, because if I combine -12x and 5x, I get -7x. Okay, so with that taken care of, then I can just look at this first row, and I'm going to think, what can I factor out of x squared and 5x? Well, I can factor an x out. What's left over is an x and a 5. Okay, now taking a look at my second row, I've got -12x and -60. What can I factor out there? Well, I could factor out a -12. Okay, what's left over in x? Good. And what's left over from my -60? Well, a 5 would be left over. Okay, so my factors become x plus 5 rather, and x minus 12. Okay, which means I'll have x-axis intercepts or roots at -5 and 12. Okay, so x equals -5 and +12. So the only thing we're missing now is my vertex. So we can do that by completing the square. Okay, so I'm going to write x squared minus 7x. Okay, and I'm just going to move my -60 kind of off to the side here. I don't need that just yet. All right, I take my 7x, I do two things to this 7 here. I'm going to divide it by 2, so 7 divided by 2. And then I'm going to square that. So that would be 7 divided by 2 squared, okay, which gives me 49 over 4. So I'm going to add 49 over 4. But because I did that, I also have to subtract 49 over 4 on the outside there, okay? All right, so that's going to give me then, it's going to give me x minus 7 over 2 whole squared. Now the trick is that this term here is always going to be this b divided by 2, okay? It's always going to be b divided by 2 before I square it, okay? So I don't want to think about whatever b divided by 2 squared is. That's what I ended up adding here, okay? But whatever my final sort of factored form of this completed the square is going to be that 7 divided by 2, or whatever b is divided by 2, okay? And it was minus 7x, so it becomes minus 7 over 2, okay? And then I have minus 60 minus 49 over 4. Which looks like a -72.25. Okay, so this means that my vertex is going to be at it's always the opposite of what you think, right? So 7 over 2, comma, -72.25. All right, so I have my y-axis intercept, I've got my vertex, and I have my x-axis intercept, so that is enough to go ahead and graph. So just got to be careful with our axes here. All right, I'm going to do this in a very nonchalant way, I guess. So that'll be -60. That's going to be my y-axis intercept. Okay, at 7 over 2, so what is that? 3.5, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, down here at negative 72.25. All right, and then I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got another 0 here at negative 12 and negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One right there. Okay, so with the scale, this one looks really weird. Okay, but you're going to end up with a parabola that looks something like this. Okay. All right, next one here, again, standard form. Okay, so my y-axis intercept will be 0, negative 8. Okay, I know that from my c term, my constant term there. If we go ahead and put this into factored form, what goes here is 3x squared. What goes down here would be negative 8. So I need to multiply my 3 and my negative 8. That's negative 24. So factors of negative 24 would be 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8. And I need combinations 4 and 6. I need combinations that's going to give me a positive 2. So this combination looks pretty good. So that will be 4x and 6x. Now, one of these needs to be negative because it's a negative 24. And it also needs to add to positive 2. So I'm going to make my 4x negative. Okay. What can I factor out of this first row here, out of 3x squared minus 4x? I can only factor an x out of that, right? What's left over is 3x and minus 4. Okay, what can I factor out of this bottom row here of 6x and minus 8? Well, I can only factor a 2 out of that, right? And what's left over? 3x and minus 4. Okay, so my factored form becomes 3x minus 4 and x plus 2, which means my x-axis intercepts become x is equal to negative 2 and positive 4/3. Okay, I'm just setting both of those equal to 0 in order to solve for those. Okay, last thing we need is the vertex. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this into vertex form. Now this one's going to be tricky. This will be 3 parentheses. Well, we'll just do this step by step. So I'll have 3x squared plus 2x. Okay, and then I'm going to move my minus 8 off to the side here. I want this leading coefficient to be a 1. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is factor out a 3. All right, so this will be 3 and then parentheses x squared plus 2/3 x plus something. And then I didn't factor out anything from this 8, so that just stays minus 8. Okay, now I got to think, okay, so just a quick check. If I were to redistribute that, would I end up with 3x squared plus 2x? And I would, so that looks good. Okay, so what do I need to add here? Again, it's the same process. So I take my 2 over 3, I divide by 2, that becomes 2 over 6, and then I square it. Okay, so divide by 2 and square it every single time. All right, that becomes 4 over 36. Okay. Which gives me 1 over 9. So if I add 1 over 9 here, I have to then subtract not just 1 over 9, but remember, if I redistribute this 3, this actually becomes 3 over 9, right? So I actually added 3 over 9. So I'm going to subtract then 3 over 9, or 1/3. Okay. What becomes of what I have here in red, so I'll have 3. My parentheses will become x plus 2 over 6, or 1/3. Okay, that'll be whole squared. And then I'll have negative 8 minus 1/3, which would give me, what, minus 25 over 3. Okay, so my vertex then would be negative 1/3, okay, because this is a positive, okay, or plus 1/3. So that becomes negative 1/3, comma, negative 25 over 3. Okay, and then we could go ahead and sketch from there because I have my vertex, I've got my x-axis intercepts, and I have my y-axis intercepts as well.